No grocery stores, no government assistance, no modern food distribution. Deep in the Appalachian Mountains during the Great Depression, when banks failed and jobs disappeared overnight, families faced a brutal reality: eat what the mountains provided or starve. The economic collapse that devastated the nation hit mountain communities especially hard, cutting off already limited access to store-bought food and forcing families to rely entirely on traditional knowledge and wild resources. They needed foods that could be found in the mountains when money ran out. They needed preservation methods that could make scarce resources last through long winters. They needed nutritional knowledge that could keep families healthy using only what nature provided for free. Every food source mattered. One missed opportunity, one failed preservation attempt, one poisonous mistake, and a family could face malnutrition or death during the harshest economic crisis in American history. The Appalachian families who survived the Great Depression had preserved food knowledge that was more sophisticated and reliable than modern nutrition science. Traditional foods that provided complete nutrition using only mountain resources. But which forgotten foods sustained Appalachian families when store-bought food became impossible to afford? How did mountain people identify, harvest, and prepare wild foods that most Americans had never heard of? Which traditional preservation methods allowed families to store nutrition for months without refrigeration? And what food preparation techniques were so effective that they provided better nutrition than modern processed foods? Today, we're exploring the forgotten foods that kept Appalachian families alive during the Great Depression, traditional nutrition that proved more reliable than the modern economy. My name is Sam, and this is Wild America. Between 1929 and 1939, Appalachian families relied on traditional food knowledge that had sustained mountain communities for generations. These weren't desperate survival foods, they were sophisticated nutritional systems that provided complete, balanced nutrition using only resources available in the mountains, often delivering better health outcomes than store-bought alternatives. 1. Ramps, wild leeks, the mountain superfood. Ramps were the first fresh food of spring and one of the most nutritionally dense wild foods available in the Appalachian Mountains. These wild leeks provided essential vitamins and minerals after long winters of preserved foods, delivering nutrition that was impossible to find in stores during the Depression era. The identification and harvesting techniques required precise knowledge of ramp ecology and sustainable harvesting practices. Ramps grew in rich, moist soil on north-facing slopes, typically appearing in early spring before the forest canopy leafed out. The distinctive broad leaves and strong onion garlic smell made them easy to identify, but proper harvesting required leaving the bulb and roots intact to ensure future growth. Experienced harvesters took only one leaf from each plant, allowing the ramp to continue growing and reproducing. The nutritional value of ramps was extraordinary, providing vitamin C levels that prevented scurvy, vitamin A for eye health, and sulfur compounds that supported immune function. Fresh ramps contained more vitamin C than citrus fruits and provided essential minerals like iron, calcium, and potassium that were often deficient in Depression-era diets. The sulfur compounds that gave ramps their distinctive smell also provided powerful antibacterial and antiviral properties that helped families stay healthy during times when medical care was unavailable. The preparation and preservation methods maximized the nutritional value and extended the availability of ramps throughout the year. Fresh ramps were eaten raw, cooked with eggs and potatoes, or added to soups and stews. Preservation techniques included pickling and vinegar, which maintained vitamin C content while creating a shelf-stable food that could last for months. Dried ramp leaves could be ground into powder and used as seasoning throughout the year. Salt-cured ramps provided a concentrated source of nutrition and flavor that could enhance other foods. The cultural and economic significance of ramps extended beyond nutrition to community building and economic survival. Ramp festivals and communal harvesting brought communities together and provided opportunities for trading and sharing resources. Families could trade preserved ramps for other necessities, creating informal economic networks that helped communities survive the Depression. The knowledge of ramp locations and harvesting techniques was closely guarded family information that provided economic security. The medicinal applications of ramps made them valuable for treating common health problems when medical care was unaffordable. Ramp poultices could treat cuts and infections, while ramp tea was used for digestive problems and respiratory issues. The antibacterial properties of ramps made them effective for treating minor wounds and preventing infection. Regular consumption of ramps was believed to purify the blood and improve overall health. The seasonal timing and availability made ramps especially valuable as the first fresh food after winter. Ramps appeared in early spring when stored foods were running low, and families were most vulnerable to nutritional deficiencies. The timing of ramp season coincided with the period when vitamin C deficiency was most likely, making ramps essential for preventing scurvy and maintaining health. The brief harvest season meant that families had to work quickly to gather and preserve enough ramps for the entire year. The sustainable harvesting practices ensured that ramp populations remained healthy and productive for future generations. Traditional harvesting methods included rotating harvest areas, taking only mature plants, and leaving sufficient plants to maintain population growth. These conservation practices were essential for long-term food security and demonstrated sophisticated understanding of ecological management. Overharvesting could eliminate ramp populations for decades, so careful management was crucial for community survival. 2. Poke Sallet, pokeweed greens. The toxic delicacy. Poke sallet was one of the most nutritious wild greens available in the mountains, but it required precise knowledge and careful preparation to avoid poisoning. This plant provided essential vitamins and minerals that were difficult to obtain during the Depression, but improper preparation could be fatal. The identification and safety protocols were absolutely critical for safe consumption of pokeweed. Young poke shoots, harvested when less than 6 inches tall, were the only safe part of the plant to eat. Mature plants, roots, seeds, and berries contained dangerous toxins that could cause severe illness or death. Proper identification required recognizing the distinctive red stems, large leaves, and growth patterns of pokeweed. Experienced foragers taught strict safety rules that prevented accidental poisoning. The preparation and detoxification process removed the toxins and made poke sallet safe to eat. The young shoots had to be boiled in multiple changes of water, typically 3 separate boiling sessions with fresh water each time. Each boiling session lasted at least 10 minutes, and the water was always discarded. This process removed the saponins and other toxins that made raw pokeweed dangerous. After proper preparation, poke sallet was safe and nutritious. The nutritional benefits of properly prepared poke sallet were exceptional, providing vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, and calcium in quantities that exceeded most cultivated vegetables. Poke sallet contained more vitamin A than carrots and more vitamin C than oranges. The iron content helped prevent anemia, which was common during the Depression due to poor nutrition. The calcium supported bone health and was especially important for children and pregnant women. The seasonal availability and harvesting techniques made poke sallet a reliable spring food source. Pokeweed grew abundantly in disturbed soil, fence rows, and cleared areas throughout the mountains. The young shoots appeared in early spring and could be harvested for several weeks before the plants became too mature and toxic. Multiple harvests were possible from the same plants by cutting the shoots and allowing them to regrow. The cultural knowledge and safety education surrounding poke sallet were passed down through generations with extreme care. Families taught children the exact identification features, proper harvesting techniques, and detailed preparation methods. This knowledge was considered essential for survival, and mistakes could be fatal. The preparation of poke sallet was often a community activity where experienced cooks supervised the process and ensured safety. The preservation and storage methods allowed families to enjoy poke sallet beyond the fresh harvest season. Properly prepared poke sallet could be canned using traditional water bath methods, providing a shelf-stable source of nutrition for winter months. Dried poke sallet could be stored and rehydrated later, though fresh preparation was preferred. Some families froze poke sallet in cold mountain streams or root cellars. The medicinal applications of pokeweed were recognized by mountain people, though the plant's toxicity required extreme caution. Small amounts of properly prepared poke sallet were believed to help with arthritis and other inflammatory conditions. The plant was also used externally for treating skin conditions, though internal medicinal use was generally avoided due to the risk of poisoning. The knowledge of medicinal applications was closely guarded and passed down only to trusted family members. 3. Wild ginseng, the mountain gold. Wild ginseng was the most valuable plant in the Appalachian Mountains, providing both nutrition and economic opportunity during the Great Depression. This rare root could be sold for cash when money was desperately needed, or consumed for its powerful nutritional and medicinal benefits. The identification and location techniques required extensive knowledge of ginseng ecology and habitat preferences. Wild ginseng grew in mature hardwood forests on north-facing slopes with rich, well-drained soil. The distinctive three-pronged leaves, red berries, and slow growth patterns made ginseng recognizable to experienced hunters. Finding ginseng required understanding forest ecology, seasonal patterns, and the subtle environmental clues that indicated suitable habitat. The harvesting and sustainability practices were strictly regulated by both law and tradition to prevent overharvesting of this valuable resource. Ginseng could only be legally harvested during specific seasons, typically from September through November, when the plants had produced seeds. Proper harvesting required carefully digging the entire root system without damage, replanting the seeds, and leaving younger plants to mature. These conservation practices ensured that ginseng populations remained viable for future generations. The economic value of wild ginseng provided crucial cash income during the Depression when other economic opportunities were scarce. High-quality wild ginseng roots could sell for substantial amounts to dealers who exported them to Asian markets. A single large root might provide enough money to buy essential supplies for an entire family. The ginseng trade created an informal economy that helped mountain families survive the economic collapse. The preparation and consumption methods maximize the nutritional and medicinal benefits of ginseng. Fresh ginseng could be eaten raw, though the taste was bitter and the texture tough. More commonly, ginseng was dried and ground into powder or sliced and steeped as tea. Ginseng wine was made by soaking roots in alcohol, creating a concentrated extract that could be stored for years. The preparation methods were designed to preserve the active compounds that provided ginseng's benefits. The nutritional and medicinal properties of ginseng made it valuable for maintaining health during stressful times. Ginseng was believed to increase energy, improve mental clarity, and boost immune function. The adaptogenic properties helped the body cope with stress and maintain health during difficult conditions. Regular consumption of ginseng was thought to improve overall vitality and longevity. The cultural significance and traditional knowledge surrounding ginseng were deeply embedded in Appalachian culture. Ginseng hunting was often a family tradition passed down through generations, with secret locations and techniques closely guarded. The knowledge of ginseng identification, harvesting, and preparation was considered valuable intellectual property. Successful ginseng hunters were respected members of the community. The storage and preservation techniques allowed families to maintain ginseng supplies for years. Properly dried ginseng could be stored in cool, dry conditions for decades without losing potency. The roots were often stored in wooden boxes or cloth bags in root cellars or other cool locations. Some families buried ginseng in sand or sawdust to maintain optimal storage conditions. 4. Wild greens, Medley. The vitamin factory. Wild greens provided essential vitamins and minerals that were impossible to obtain from store-bought foods during the Depression. These diverse plants created a complete nutritional system that supported health and prevented deficiency diseases. The identification and harvesting of multiple wild greens required extensive botanical knowledge and understanding of seasonal availability. Common wild greens included lamb's quarters, wild spinach, dandelion, plantain, violet leaves, and wild lettuce. Each plant had specific identification features, optimal harvesting times, and preparation methods. Experienced foragers could identify dozens of edible wild greens and knew when each was at peak nutritional value. The nutritional diversity and complementary benefits of wild greens provided complete nutrition that exceeded cultivated vegetables. Wild greens typically contained higher concentrations of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants than their cultivated counterparts. The diversity of wild greens ensured that families received a full spectrum of nutrients, preventing deficiency diseases that were common during the Depression. Different greens provided different nutritional benefits, creating a balanced diet when consumed together. The preparation and cooking techniques maximized nutritional value while improving taste and digestibility. Most wild greens were cooked to improve digestibility and reduce any bitter flavors. Common preparation methods included boiling, sautéing with bacon fat or lard, and adding to soups and stews. Some greens were eaten raw in salads, while others required cooking to neutralize mild toxins or improve palatability. The preservation and storage methods allowed families to enjoy wild greens throughout the year. Wild greens could be dried and stored for winter use, providing essential vitamins when fresh foods were unavailable. Some greens were pickled or fermented, creating probiotic foods that supported digestive health. Blanching and freezing in cold mountain streams or root cellars preserved greens for several months. The seasonal succession and availability patterns ensured that fresh wild greens were available from early spring through late fall. Different greens appeared at different times, creating a succession of fresh foods throughout the growing season. Early spring greens like dandelion and violet leaves provided essential vitamins after winter. Summer greens like lamb's quarters and wild spinach provided ongoing nutrition. Fall greens like wild lettuce extended the fresh food season. The medicinal properties and health benefits of wild greens made them valuable for treating common health problems. Many wild greens had specific medicinal properties in addition to their nutritional value. Dandelion supported liver function and digestion. Plantain was used for treating cuts and wounds. Violet leaves provided vitamin C and were used for respiratory problems. The combination of nutrition and medicine made wild greens essential for maintaining health. The cultural knowledge and community sharing of wild greens information created networks of botanical expertise within mountain communities. Experienced foragers shared knowledge about plant identification, harvesting locations, and preparation techniques. This knowledge sharing was essential for community survival and ensured that botanical expertise was preserved and transmitted to younger generations. 5. Acorns, the carbohydrate powerhouse. Acorns provided essential carbohydrates and calories when other food sources were scarce during the Depression. These nuts were abundant in Appalachian forests and could provide substantial nutrition when properly processed to remove their natural tannins. The identification and collection of different acorn varieties required understanding which oak species produced the best nuts and when they were ready for harvest. White oak acorns were preferred because they contained fewer tannins and required less processing. Red oak acorns were more bitter but still usable with proper preparation. The timing of acorn collection was critical, as nuts had to be gathered quickly after falling to prevent spoilage and insect damage. The processing and detannification methods removed the bitter tannins and made acorns edible and nutritious. Traditional processing involved shelling the acorns, grinding them into meal, and leaching out the tannins with repeated water rinses. The ground acorn meal was placed in baskets and rinsed with fresh water until the bitter taste was removed. This process could take several days, but was essential for making acorns palatable and safe to eat. The nutritional value and caloric content of processed acorns made them an excellent source of carbohydrates and calories. Acorn meal contained complex carbohydrates, protein, healthy fats, and essential minerals. The caloric density of acorns made them valuable for maintaining energy levels during physically demanding work. Acorns also provided vitamin B6, folate, and minerals like potassium and magnesium. The preparation and cooking methods transformed processed acorn meal into various foods that could replace wheat flour and other expensive ingredients. Acorn meal could be used to make bread, pancakes, mush, and other staple foods. The meal was often mixed with cornmeal or wheat flour when available to improve texture and flavor. Acorn mush was a common preparation that provided filling, nutritious meals when other foods were scarce. The storage and preservation techniques allowed families to maintain acorn supplies throughout the year. Properly processed and dried acorn meal could be stored for months in cool, dry conditions. The meal was typically stored in wooden barrels, cloth bags, or other containers that protected it from moisture and pests. Some families ground acorns fresh as needed, while others processed large quantities during harvest season. The abundance and reliability of acorn harvests made them a dependable food source even during poor growing seasons. Oak trees produced acorns annually, though the quantity varied from year to year. Good acorn years provided abundant food supplies, while poor years still produced some nuts. The reliability of acorn production made them an important backup food source when other crops failed. The cultural knowledge and traditional techniques for acorn processing were passed down through generations of mountain families. The knowledge of acorn identification, processing methods, and preparation techniques was considered essential survival information. Different families had variations in their processing techniques, but the basic principles remained consistent. This traditional knowledge was crucial for utilizing this abundant forest resource. 6. Wild berries and fruits. The natural preserves. Wild berries and fruits provided essential vitamins, natural sugars, and variety in the mountain diet during the Depression. These foods were abundant during their seasons and could be preserved to provide nutrition and sweetness throughout the year. The identification and harvesting of various wild berries required knowledge of multiple species and their seasonal availability. Common wild berries included blackberries, blueberries, huckleberries, elderberries, wild strawberries, and wild grapes. Each species had specific identification features, optimal harvesting times, and preferred growing conditions. Experienced berry pickers knew the locations of productive patches and the best times to harvest each variety. The nutritional benefits and vitamin content of wild berries made them essential for preventing deficiency diseases and maintaining health. Wild berries were rich in vitamin C, which prevented scurvy and supported immune function. They also provided antioxidants, natural sugars for energy, and various minerals. The vitamin content of wild berries was often higher than cultivated varieties, making them especially valuable for nutrition. The preservation and storage methods allowed families to enjoy berries throughout the year and provided natural sweetness when sugar was expensive or unavailable. Traditional preservation methods included drying berries in the sun or near fires, making jams and jellies with honey or maple syrup, and fermenting berries into wines. Dried berries could be stored for months and added to other foods for flavor and nutrition. The preparation and cooking techniques maximized the nutritional value and created variety in berry consumption. Fresh berries were eaten raw, cooked into pies and cobblers, or added to other foods. Berries were often cooked with other ingredients to create filling, nutritious meals. Berry sauces and syrups provided natural sweetness for other foods. Some berries were used to make beverages and teas. The seasonal abundance and timing of different berry harvests provided fresh foods throughout the growing season. Wild strawberries appeared in early summer, followed by blackberries, blueberries, and other varieties throughout the summer and fall. The succession of different berries ensured that fresh fruits were available for several months. The timing of berry harvests was carefully tracked to ensure optimal harvesting. The medicinal properties and health benefits of various wild berries made them valuable for treating common health problems. Elderberries were used for treating colds and flu. Blackberry leaves were used for digestive problems. Wild strawberry leaves were used for various ailments. The combination of nutrition and medicine made wild berries especially valuable for maintaining health. The community cooperation and sharing of berry harvesting created social networks and ensured that everyone had access to these valuable foods. Berry picking was often a community activity that brought families together and provided opportunities for sharing knowledge and resources. Productive berry patches were sometimes shared among community members, ensuring that everyone could benefit from abundant harvests. 7. Wild mushrooms, the protein alternative. Wild mushrooms provided essential protein and unique flavors when meat was scarce during the Depression. These fungi were abundant in Appalachian forests and could provide substantial nutrition when properly identified and prepared. The identification and safety protocols for wild mushrooms were absolutely critical, as misidentification could be fatal. Safe edible varieties included oyster mushrooms, chicken of the woods, morel mushrooms, and puffballs. Each species had specific identification features, growing conditions, and seasonal availability. The knowledge of mushroom identification was passed down through generations with extreme care, as mistakes could result in death. The nutritional value and protein content of wild mushrooms made them valuable meat substitutes when animal protein was scarce. Mushrooms provided complete proteins, B vitamins, minerals, and unique compounds that supported health. Some mushrooms contained vitamin D, which was difficult to obtain from other sources. The protein quality of mushrooms was comparable to meat in many cases. The harvesting and sustainable collection practices ensured that mushroom populations remained productive for future harvests. Proper harvesting involved cutting mushrooms rather than pulling them, leaving the underground mycelium intact to produce future mushrooms. Sustainable harvesting also involved taking only what was needed and leaving some mushrooms to release spores for reproduction. The preparation and cooking methods maximized the nutritional value and ensured safety of wild mushrooms. Most wild mushrooms required cooking to improve digestibility and eliminate any potential toxins. Common preparation methods included sautéing, adding to soups and stews, and drying for preservation. Proper cooking also improved the flavor and texture of most wild mushrooms. The preservation and storage techniques allowed families to enjoy mushrooms beyond their fresh season. Drying was the most common preservation method, creating shelf-stable mushrooms that could be stored for months. Dried mushrooms could be rehydrated and used in cooking throughout the year. Some mushrooms were pickled or preserved in salt to extend their availability. The seasonal availability and habitat knowledge required understanding when and where different mushrooms appeared. Most edible mushrooms appeared during specific seasons and weather conditions. Spring morels appeared after warm rains, while fall mushrooms appeared during cool, moist conditions. The knowledge of mushroom habitats and timing was essential for successful foraging. The cultural knowledge and safety education surrounding wild mushrooms were passed down with extreme caution due to the potential dangers. Families taught mushroom identification with great care, often requiring multiple generations of supervision before allowing independent foraging. The knowledge of safe mushroom identification was considered crucial survival information that could mean the difference between nutrition and death. "We ate what the mountains gave us," wrote mountain chronicler Mary Henderson in 1935. When the stores closed and the money ran out, we turned to the old ways our grandparents had taught us. The mountains provided everything we needed, if you knew where to look and how to prepare it. These weren't desperate times. They were times when we remembered who we really were. The techniques we've explored in videos like how Appalachian people survived the scorching southern summer heat and 7 forgotten superstitions from the Appalachian Mountains demonstrate that mountain families had complete knowledge systems for surviving economic collapse using traditional foods and preparation methods. The food knowledge developed by Appalachian families proves that with proper identification, harvesting, and preparation techniques, wild foods can provide superior nutrition to modern processed alternatives. My name is Sam, and this is Wild America.